Hey everybody, this is Captain Yeet here for you for one of the Kagurabachi chapter review. This is going to be Kagurabachi chapter 119 titled The Isram Talk Part 3. So let's get into it. The very beginning of the chapter starts off with a little flashback of how the Migabosi came to be, and the narrator specifically states, our ancestors, the Migabosi, once ruled the land of Japan. But we lost power when the Soga clan led a devastating incursion on the island where the Mikibosi took refuge. They encountered an unusual stone. Now, I didn't know that they ruled all over Japan. Did they ever say that in the previous chapter that they ruled over all of Japan, which is wild? Now, were they bad leaders and terrible people? We don't know. They don't specifically say that in this chapter, but the Soga clan did drive them out to a different island. The narrator also states that the Soga clan went to a Pacific island off to the coast when they got rolled out of Japan, but then the leader of the Mikabosi went to that island they took refuge and then destroyed it and then got sunk into the sea, which is kind of jacked up. Now, we don't know if they were ruling Japan with an iron fist or anything, but they did give up and went to a separate island, and then the leader destroyed the island, which is kind of like the same thing that happened in recent time. Because they said during the Sete War, the Sokoku people, well, now we know of the Mikabosi, they gave up because they were losing, and then our Soga, Seba's well not Seba, sorry, Chihido's haven't seen Chihido in so long. Chihido's uncle, he did the malediction and killed everybody. So history is just kind of repeating itself. And then we see a panel of the Mikabosi's island getting destroyed. We see the leader floating sky high with a big black ball above his head, and the island is sinking to the ground. And they also mentioned that they used to pray to the weird Dante Seki stone all the time. They used to pray and pray to it that their descendants will live on and have prosperous, peaceful lives. And then when they were sinking into the ocean, the stone finally answered their prayers of the king. The king was the one specifically praying to the stone. I think everybody was, but I guess specifically the king was praying specifically when it was sinking into the ocean to have some sort of place for them to live. And the stone made this gigantic rock structure. It was like a giant rock ball in the ocean. That's where they've been living for the past 1,000 years. So they weren't just living in the ocean regularly like Atlantis. They were inside this gigantic rock structure. Then eventually we go back into real time. The really old dude that's left on the island, he looks at the dude with the tattoo on his neck and asks him, hey, are you a Soga? He goes, what if I am? He goes, the man that throat you just slit is my son, and he is the crown prince of the Mikabosi. Sheba does explain, obviously, hey, you were the ones that striked us first. You blew up our boat, you killed two Japanese men, and you just attacked us out of nowhere when we told you multiple times we just want to talk. Now, there doesn't have to be any more bloodshed from this point on. Then he's thinking to himself, we have to at least leave one person alive so they can go back and tell the rest of the people what happened and they should just chill. But he's not trying to hear that. The old man says, I'm not going to talk to you any longer. I just came here to bear witness. They're really confused with what he means. And then Masahiro walks over to the dude that was sitting on the couch next to the prince, and his eyes are bloodshot. He died. They're like, what happened? Then the prince, he gets up and he yanks a chunk out of, almost at Mikabosi, he yanks a chunk out of Masahiro's, it's not his chest, it's like his stomach sort of area. He just grabs a chunk out of his stomach area. Obviously, everybody's really surprised. How the heck is he still alive? How did he get past us without us knowing? So instantly, they jump into action. Masahiro makes a bunch of those like pressure point things all around him to keep him in place. And I love it though. Even though he has that huge chunk out of him, he did that. And then he goes, "You wasted your only ambush on me." And everybody else jumps into action. Siba goes to hit him with a regular strike. The really big guy with the mustache and beard takes out his sword and swings it at him. The Megabosi Prince is able to block both attacks, which is pretty impressive. And then eventually they all chase him into the forest. And when they chase him into the forest, we see Siba grab me. I keep wanting to say Mikabosi. He grabs Masahiro and teleports him way off to the side. Which I mean, I should probably mention this before I continue. This is so annoying. I mean, not the battle, but Siba was making good points. Like, hey, you guys were killing us first and attacking us. We just wanted to talk. And he was like, I'm not talking to you any longer. I'm like, what? You guys were attacking us first, so you can't get mad at us killing your son. I mean, obviously, I guess you would be mad about your son dying, but I mean, he didn't die, but you wouldn't be mad about that. But still, you can't get mad at us for retaliating in self defense when you guys started attacking us from the jump. Yes, they have a lot of not issues, but rage from the 1,000 years they've been pushed underground, especially since a bunch of soldiers came to talk to them. But still, what those soldiers did back in the day had nothing to do with us. But anyway, they chase him into the forest. Shiba grabs Masahiro and teleports him over to the side because he's really, really hurt. Then the guy with the tattoo on his neck does a move called Kuro Susi. I'm saying this completely wrong, but when he does this, a bunch of pressure starts to hit onto the Mikaboshi Prince, and he can't move. He's like stuck on the ground, and he's stuck so hard. I mean, there's so much pressure on him to where the ground beneath him starts to crack, and he can't move. Then the narrator states, as a general principle, sorcery uses the body of the wielder as its substance. The sorcery passed down through the Soga male line depends exponentially advances physical skills developed through extreme physical conditioning and swordplay. Let me keep talking. I mean, let me keep scrolling down. Hiroto Soga is the only living predecessor of Kurosashi sorcery. And this sorcery is specifically the sorcery that destroyed the island because the prince of the Mikaboshi notices the really big black ball above his head. And then we go back over to the flashback panel where we saw a big black ball over the leader's head. And then all this pressure is cracking the island. So he did that. So now the black ball above Hiroto's head is a small black ball because it's specifically just holding down one person. But then the black ball above the leader in the flashback panel, it was gigantic because he was destroying a whole island, which makes sense. So I don't know if he can. Well, yeah, never mind. I was gonna say I don't know if he can increase it, but he can. But I don't know if that affects him at all because he does a swipe towards the leader of the Mikaboshi. He blocks it, and then he hits the hilt of his sword. He just holds his sword like this, and with his other hand hits the hilt, and then even more pressure hits him to where he gets in, to where the leader of the Mikaboshi or the prince, he's inside the giant crater now. It was like a little tiny crater. Now it's like a giant meteor crater, and he really can't move. He's like, what am I gonna do? We go back over to Monster Hero huffing and puffing, and then the head that he cut off last chapter is talking. He's like, what? Now he's not talking to Masahiro specifically, but he's just rambling. He specifically says, we must not go hungry. We must not allow the enemy to seize the stone. They promised. And he's like, what in the world? And then we see a bunch of Mikaboshi people just inside the giant rock structure and some insects. Then the narrator starts to state, our enemy is the Soga clan. And those who, well, I guess this might be the leader, I mean, the prince of the Mikaboshi. Our enemy is the Soga clan and those who prosper under their substance. And then we see them grind up a bunch of insects into like a soup, and he drinks the soup. Then the narrator starts to go into where is it? Where is it? Here we go. The power of the Dakinseki is fundamentally to our civilization. The Mikaboshi born here. Oops, a daisy. I clicked out of the chapter. Let me pause the video really quickly. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. The Mikaboshi born here are have an affinity with the Dakinseki. Then they state among us there are six guardians chosen from pure-blooded Makaboshi. By their prayers and blood, they bear the original power once wielded by the Makaboshi king. Reconstruction of the environment, that divine power transformed a place devoid of light and air into a space for human survival. It reaches a realm far beyond mere of for fornication. No, but basically, like I guess basic magic, like the basic sorcery we use. The guardians can draw upon it, the true realm of the Dakinseki, and then the prince of the Makaboshi is able to get out of the pressure little ball that Hiroto has him in. He does a technique called Suru Mika, and then a bunch of this like dark black energy just starts to appear all around him. And then that centipede move that Soga uses starts to swirl around him. But the centipede is usually black. Whenever Soga uses it with the enchanted blade, the centipede specifically in this panel is white. So he's about to do something crazy in the next chapter. He's about to do something crazy. And for if I'm reading it right, that means the only person with the same technique. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. He has the same technique as the king Haruto, but there's six people like him. that probably makes sense to why there was six wielders. I mean, six enchanted blades, since there's six Pacific people just like him, and there's one person about to do something crazy. I'm, I'm really scared. I really don't want Haruto or the other, I didn't know they were brothers. I must have misread that. But the guy with the really big mustache and beard, they kept saying Haruto and him are brothers. I really don't want the brothers to die. I don't want Masahiro to die. We know Siba doesn't die. But obviously, I guess someone's gonna have to die here. I don't want anyone to die, but it looks like somebody might die here, which really sucks. But I guess we gotta wait till next chapter to see exactly what this true realm is. And I guess basically I mean, I guess based on whatever we're gonna see next week, does kind of make sense to why Rokuhira made Six Enchanted Blade, because that's been like a meme through the community. Like, why did he make such broken Enchanted Blade? Because this one Enchanted Blade, like Soga's Enchanted Blade, is already broken enough. Why did we need six more? This the prince is about to show us something crazy, and there's five more people just like him. So it makes sense why we needed six blades. So it makes a ton of sense why we needed six blades because of this. Because look how crazy he is. Like, my goodness gracious, this is bad. And I guess the king of the Mikaboshi and I guess everybody drinks and eats these bug things because there's no way they can get regular food while they're stuck inside the rock. Also, um, what was I about to say? Also, I guess the king had like six kids because they had six kids, and the descendants of those kids had these guys, and they're the only ones with the power of the king. So I guess they has to be direct descendants of him. All there's a bunch of other descendant people here, but from the king, he has six, which is whew, man, oh man, this is gonna be such a bad chapter next week. I don't want anyone to die, but I mean, maybe like one or two might die, man. I don't know. I guess we'll see next week. So okay, like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you all later. Thank you all for watching. I thank you all of them, women, human beings, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. All right.